So what if I told you that one of the most profound tools for understanding the nature of evil, or like the absolute sovereignty of God, actually features elves and magic jewels?
Right, which sounds completely crazy at first.
It really does. I mean, we usually treat fantasy as pure escapism, you know, just something to turn our brains off at the end of a long day.
Yeah, exactly, a distraction.
Right. But today, we are jumping into a deep dive on a massive stack of sources. We've got literary analyses, personal letters, and some really rich devotional reflections. And they all argue that J.R.R. Tolkien's life work wasn't written to help you escape reality.
No, not at all. It was written to help you survive it.
Boom. That is the mission for today. Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and I'm here with our resident expert to unpack this.
Glad to be here. And yeah, it is a bold claim, especially for the listener who, might be thinking that they barely have time to read their Bible.
Let alone a dense mythical history of a fictional world.
Exactly. But our goal for this deep dive into Tolkien's work, specifically the Silmarillion, is to show how this legendary prehistory of Middle-earth serves as a deliberately crafted mirror.
A mirror for the biblical story, right?
Yes, for creation, the fall, and redemption. Because Tolkien was a deeply devout Christian, he did not view his writing as some secular distraction.
Which is a huge misconception.
It is. He actually believed that myth could hold deep moral and theological truths, kind of in solution, as he put it, presenting them to us in a way that bypasses our usual defenses.
Okay, let's hover on that for a second, because that is the crucial hurdle we have to clear before we even get into the story itself.
Right, we have to lay the groundwork.
Yeah, because for the listener driving to work right now, listening to this, they might be thinking, look, I am a conservative evangelical. I want to grow in my faith. I want to love Christ more.
So why read about elves?
Exactly. Why on earth should I view this specific made-up story as a tool to actually understand my Bible better?
Well, the answer really lies in how our minds and our hearts process information over time.
Okay, break that down for us.
So think about the core truths of the Christian faith. The reality of our own sin, the sheer majesty of God, the scandalous grace of the cross.
The heavy hitters.
Right. But because we hear these concepts every single Sunday, they can become, well, overly familiar.
Yeah, they lose their edge.
Exactly. We hear the words, but we stop feeling their actual weight. So Tolkien, along with his close friend C.S. Lewis, believed that a well-crafted myth could take those incredibly familiar biblical truths and dress them in new garments.
Imaginative garments.
Yes, and sneak past what Lewis called our watchful dragons.
I love that phrase so much. Those watchful dragons being like our cynicism.
Cynicism, overfamiliarity, or tendency to just nod along to a sermon without letting it actually pierce our hearts.
Man, which is something I think every single one of us struggles with.
Absolutely. So when you see the origin of evil played out in this sweeping cosmic symphony, or you witness the destructive nature of pride in an immortal craftsman, it gives you a fresh lens.
It strips away the familiarity.
Exactly. It forces you to confront the ugliness of sin and the majesty of your Creator with completely fresh eyes.
So we aren't looking at this to learn about a fictional world.
Not at all. We're looking at this to learn about our own hearts.
That is so good. And
Yeah.
I should assure you right now, for everyone listening, we are not going to get bogged down in a massive glossary of complex elvish names.
No, please no.
Yeah, or drown you in dry theological jargon. We are extracting the very heart of the story. So let's start at the very beginning.
The absolute beginning.
Right. Before the elves, before Middle-earth, before the mountains or the oceans. We are starting exactly where both the Bible and Tolkien's myth begin.
Before the physical world even existed.
Yes, with a sovereign creator.
Right, so in the Silmarillion, this opening account is called the Anilindale, which translates to the music of the Ainur.
Okay, so set the scene for us.
It begins in the void, with one supreme being, Eru Iluvatar, the one God. And before anything physical is made, Iluvatar creates these angelic beings, called the Ainur, literally from his own thought.
But he doesn't just, act like a mechanic building a machine.
No, not at all. He propounds a great theme of music to them. He actually invites these angelic beings to sing together in harmony.
Wow.
And it's through this breathtaking cosmic symphony that the vision of the world is sung into existence.
Man, the moment you read that in the sources, the biblical parallels just leap right off the page.
They really do.
Because you go to Genesis 1, and God speaks the world into existence out of nothing. Let there be light.
Right, the spoken word.
And then you go to John 1, and in the Greek, Jesus is described as the Logos, the Word the divine reason and ordering principle of the cosmos.
Exactly.
So Tolkien is taking that core biblical truth, that the universe isn't some random accident of chaotic atoms colliding in a dark void,
Yeah.
and he's presenting it as a great piece of music.
Yes. The universe is fundamentally musical. It has chords, it has rhythm, and most importantly, it has a conductor.
A conductor. I love that.
And the source material draws a direct, intentional line here to the Hebrew word bereshith.
Which means in the beginning, right?
Right, when Elohim acts to create. In the myth, Ilúvatar utters the word E, which means, let these things be.
That is such a direct parallel.
It is, but what is so deeply moving about Tolkien's vision and what our devotional sources really highlight is the posture of the creator during this music.
Yeah, talk about that, because there is a reflection in our notes that captures this perfectly.
Go ahead and read it. It's beautiful.
It says, "Beloved, pause before this picture of the Father who delights in the song of his creatures. Before anything else existed, the Holy One was already sharing the joy of his own mind with those he had formed."
Sharing the joy of his own mind.
It completely shatters the image of God as some distant, arms-folded taskmaster who just wants, blind compliance.
It completely reframes how we view our relationship with him, and by extension, how we view our own daily work and creativity.
Because the Creator is a joyful composer.
Exactly. And he invites his creatures to actively participate in the music.
So think about what that means for the listener today.
Right, in your daily life.
Yeah, when you go to your job, whether you are coding software, teaching a classroom of toddlers, painting a canvas, remodeling a kitchen, or even just balancing a spreadsheet,
You are participating in this reality.
you are an offspring of his thought.
Mm.
Your daily labor is meant to be an adornment of God's theme.
Which brings up Tolkien's incredible concept of subcreation.
Oh, this is fascinating. Explain subcreation for us.
So, because we are made in the image of God, the Imago Dei, we have this innate, irrepressible desire to create things.
Right. We plant gardens, we build houses,
We write poetry, we cook elaborate meals. We love to make things simply because our Father makes things.
we take after him.
Exactly. But there is a crucial distinction here. We are sub-creators. We are subordinate.
Meaning we don't start from scratch.
Right. We create using the materials and the themes he has already provided for us. We don't create ex nihilo out of nothing.
Because only God does that.
Exactly. We are invited to adorn the theme, to add harmony and beauty to it, not to invent a rival melody.
Our obedience, offered in harmony with his purpose, becomes part of the music that fills the dwelling of God.
That's the ideal, yes.
But I have to say, I struggle with this sub-creator idea sometimes.
Oh, how so?
Well, if I am essentially just playing the conductor's sheet music, where is my free will?
Ah, the classic question.
Yeah, like where is the line between me honoring God with my unique talents and me just being a robot who is forced to play the notes exactly as written?
Right, if I can't write my own song, am I really free?
Exactly. Am I just a puppet?
Well, that tension you're feeling is the exact pivot point where the tragedy of the Silmarillion and really the tragedy of human history begins.
Okay, tell me more.
It's not about being a robot. It's about harmony. You have the freedom to improvise within the key. You get to express your unique gifts.
So there's room for my own flavor.
Yes, tons of room. But the moment your improvisation demands to be the only sound in the room,
Oh, I see where this is going.
the moment you decide the conductor's chord progression is holding you back and you want to play a completely clashing key, you've crossed the line.
You aren't making art anymore.
Exactly. You're just making noise. And that is precisely what happens with one of those angelic beings we talked about.
The most powerful one, right?
Yes. The mightiest of them all. A being named Melkor. He decides he doesn't want to be a sub-creator.
He wants the baton.
He wants the baton.
And for the listener, Melkor is very clearly the Lucifer figure of this mythology.
Absolutely. Melkor is the most gifted, the most powerful of the Ainur. He has a share in all the gifts of his brethren.
He's got it all.
But as the great music swells, Melkor begins to interweave thoughts of his own imagining that were not in harmony with the theme of Ilúvatar.
He goes rogue.
He does. He wants to increase the power and glory of the part assigned to himself. He actually wants to bring things into being on his own.
Like out of nothing.
Yes. He ventures out into the void, searching for the flame imperishable, which is the power to create life out of nothing.
But that belongs only to God.
Exactly. And when he realizes he can't have it, a deep, bitter resentment takes root. He desires absolute autonomy.
Wow. It's the ultimate picture of pride.
It really is.
He looks at his own immense talent and thinks, Why should I share the stage?
Right. Why am I playing backup?
And this mirrors passages like Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28 so perfectly.
Oh, definitely.
Because we see Lucifer, the morning star, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty, saying in his heart, I will ascend to the heavens, I will raise my throne above the stars of God, I will make myself like the Most High.
It's the exact same rebellion.
So evil doesn't begin as some rival equal force to God.
No, not at all.
This isn't a dualistic universe like Star Wars where the dark side and the light side are equal and opposite forces battling it out.
Yeah. No, that's a really important distinction. Evil originates purely as a creature's prideful rebellion.
Yes.
It's a turning inward. And the early church fathers, like Augustine, had a philosophical concept for what you just described.
Okay, let's hear it.
Our sources heavily emphasize it in Tolkien's work. It's called privatio boni.
Privatio boni. Okay, let's break that down for the listener. What does that actually mean in the practice?
It means the privation or the absence of good.
So it's not a thing itself.
Exactly. Evil isn't a substance on its own. It doesn't have an independent existence. It is literally a parasite.
A parasite.
Think of a shadow. A shadow isn't a physical thing, it's just the blocking of light.
Right.
Or think of rust. Rust only exists by feeding on and corrupting the iron. If you take away the iron, you can't have rust just floating in the air.
That is such a helpful analogy. So Melkor cannot paint his own canvas.
No, he can only throw paint thinner on Iluvatar's masterpiece.
Wow.
In the myth, Melkor's discord is described as loud, repetitive, and aggressive. It lacks any true melody.
It's just noise.
Right. It's just a booming, vain noise trying to drown out the harmony of the others.
So because he can't create, he mocks.
Exactly.
And that destructive parasitical pride doesn't just stay in the angelic realm. It bleeds down into the creatures of Middle-earth.
It infects everything.
And Tolkien gives us this harrowing, deeply human picture of this in the character of Fëanor.
Yes, Fëanor's story is tragic.
It really is. So for those who aren't familiar with the deep lore, Fëanor is an elf, and he is the greatest craftsman, the greatest sub-creator who ever lived.
A true visionary.
Yeah, and he manages to accomplish something absolutely unimaginable. Before there was a sun and a moon, the world was lit by two holy, magnificent trees in the land of paradise, which is called Valinor.
Right.
Fëanor manages to capture the pristine, holy light of those trees and encase it in three flawless jewels called the Silmarils.
Which is where the title of the book comes from.
Exactly. They are the most beautiful things ever made by a creature.
And initially, his creation of the Silmarils is a wondrous thing.
An act of worship, almost.
It is the ultimate act of subcreation. He is using his God-given talents to make something incredibly beautiful that reflects the glory of the creator.
Even the angelic powers themselves marvel at his work and bless the jewels.
But then the rot sets in.
Yeah, it always does.
Fëanor falls into the trap of possessiveness. He begins to love the Silmarils too much.
He crosses that line.
He stares at them, covets them, and claims them as his own absolute property. He entirely forgets that the light inside them was not his own.
And that his very skill to make them was a gift from the creator.
Right. He locks them away in a hoard, and when Melkor, who is always looking to corrupt the beautiful things he cannot make, destroys the two holy trees and steals the Silmarils,
Fëanor just completely loses his mind.
he does.
He swears an oath, right? A terrifying, blasphemous oath.
Yes, he swears an unbreakable oath in the name of Iluvatar himself, swearing to wage relentless, merciless war on anyone, friend, foe, or angel, who tries to keep the Silmarils from him. Anyone. This possessive obsession leads him to abandon paradise, betray his own people, and commit the first kinslaying.
Murdering his own kind.
Yes, murdering his fellow elves just to steal their ship so he can chase Melkor.
It's horrific.
His pride leads to centuries of war, the ruin of his family line, and just untold suffering.
It's a terrifying story because at its core, it is so deeply relatable.
I mean, not the mass murder part.
Right. Not mass murder and the magic jewels part, obviously. But the creeping, silent nature of possessiveness.
Yes, absolutely.
There is a devotional prompt from the sources that just pierces the heart. It says, O soul, take warning from the trajectory of Fëanor. Splendor is not security. The gifts of power, knowledge, and beauty become ruin when they cease to be received as gifts and are claimed as rights.
Oh, that is powerful.
It goes on. Examine your own heart in the light of the gospel. Where have you begun to cherish the work of your hands more than the giver?
That right there is the pure essence of biblical idolatry.
Completely.
John Calvin famously said that the human heart is a perpetual idol factory. We take good things, things God gave us to bless us and bring him glory, and we elevate them to ultimate things.
We clutch the gifts of God so tightly that they take the place of God.
Yes.
Let's put feet on this for the listener, because this isn't just about crafting jewels.
Yeah, it's deeply practical.
It could be your career. You start out stewarding a business, working hard as unto the Lord, but slowly you start defining your entire worth by your profit margins.
It becomes your identity.
Or it could be your family. You love your children, which is a very good thing, but you become so obsessed with their success and their image that you tie your identity to them, creating a suffocating pressure.
Which crushes them.
Yeah. It could even be your ministry. You start out serving the church, but soon you view that ministry as your kingdom, and you become fiercely protective and territorial over it.
You build a hoard, just like Fëanor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how does a listener driving to work right now recognize this slow poison of arrogance in their own daily Christian life before it takes root?
Well, the clearest diagnostic tool for idolatry is to look at how we respond to loss.
Or even just the threat of loss.
Yes. When our plans are thwarted, when a talent is overlooked, or when a position of influence is taken away, what is our immediate, visceral reaction?
That's a revealing question.
It is. Is your reaction a deep, abiding sorrow combined with a quiet surrender to God's will? Or is it a fierce, protective, Fëanor-like anger?
A demanding anger.
Right. If it's the latter, if we find ourselves willing to compromise our character, to cut down others with our words, to gossip, or to harbor bitter resentment just to hold on to our Silmarils, that is the canary in the coal mine.
Wow.
It means a gift has mutated into a right.
So what is the antidote?
The antidote, as the devotional suggests, is returning quickly and frequently to the posture of gratitude, reminding ourselves daily that everything we have, from our next breath to our greatest achievement, is borrowed grace.
Borrowed grace.
Yeah.
That is a hard word, but a necessary one.
Very necessary.
But it forces us to ask a massive question.
What's that?
Well, if evil is constantly trying to ruin the music, whether it's Melkor playing loud, obnoxious noise on a cosmic scale, or our own hearts twisting gifts into idols on a personal scale, how is the music not completely ruined?
That is a million-dollar question.
I mean, we look at the world today. We look at the news, the corruption, the decay. We look at the deep pain and failure in our own lives, and it often feels like the noise is winning.
It does feel like
The discord is so loud. How does the symphony survive?
This brings us to what might be the most comforting and majestic theological truth embedded in the entire Silmarillion:
Let's hear it.
the unbreakable providence of God.
Yes.
Let's go back to that opening music. When Melkor introduces his jarring, discordant noise into the great music, Iluvatar doesn't panic.
He doesn't sweat.
He doesn't throw his hands up and stop the music. He simply raises his hands, smiles, and propounds a new theme.
A new theme.
And then another, and he weaves the very discord of Melkor into a harmony that is deeper, wider, and more sorrowful, but ultimately more profoundly beautiful than the original music.
The sources highlight a quote from Iluvatar to Melkor that I want to read because it is staggering.
It's one of his best.
It is one of the most powerful things Tolkien ever wrote. God says to this dark lord, "And thou, Melkor, shalt see that no theme may be played that hath not its uttermost source in me, nor can any alter the music in my despite."
It gives me chills.
Right. For he that attempteth this shall prove but mine instrument in the devising of things more wonderful, which he himself hath not imagined.
Tolkien is giving us a vivid, imaginative illustration of Romans 8.28.
And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him.
Exactly. We see this dynamic all throughout Scripture. Think of the story of Joseph in Genesis.
Oh, perfect example.
His brothers are consumed by envy. They throw him in a pit and sell him into slavery. It is a wicked, discordant act.
Pure evil.
But years later, after immense suffering, Joseph looks at those same brothers and says, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives."
God didn't cause their evil.
No, but he sovereignly absorbed it. He outflanked it. He used it as an instrument to weave a greater salvation.
You intended it for harm, but God intended it for good.
Yes.
God is looking at Melkor, looking at the enemy, looking at the darkest moments of our lives and saying, "You are trying to destroy this song, but you are actually just playing the bass line for my greatest masterpiece."
That is exactly it. Evil is ultimately self-defeating. It cannot escape the bounds of the creator's purpose.
It's trapped by sovereignty.
Every time Melkor tries to destroy something, he unwittingly creates a new form of beauty.
And there's this one specific detail from the sources that perfectly illustrates this.
Oh, the water.
Yes, I want to spend some time on it because it is so beautiful. It's the story of the snowflake.
Go for it.
So, in the creation of the physical world, there is an angelic being named Ulmo who is given lordship over the waters, the oceans, the rivers, the rain.
And water is considered the deepest echo of the original music.
Right. Well, Melkor hates the water because he can't control it, so he tries to destroy it. He uses extreme, bitter, freezing cold to try and freeze all the water solid, locking it away. And then he uses extreme, blistering heat and fire to try and boil it all away into nothingness.
He throws everything he has at it.
But what actually happens?
Ulmo discovers that Melkor's extreme heat didn't destroy the water. It created clouds and mists and the most beautiful sunsets.
Wow.
And the extreme cold didn't destroy it either. It created snow and frost.
Unlooked-for beauties.
Exactly. Ulmo goes back to Iluvatar and says, "Truly, water has become now fairer than my heart imagined. Neither had my secret thought conceived the snowflake, nor in all my music was contained the falling of the rain."
Melkor's wrath produced a beauty that wouldn't have existed otherwise.
It backfired completely.
So what does this all mean for the listener? I'm going to read directly from the devotional source here because it applies this so beautifully to our own suffering.
Please do.
It says, "The frost of affliction, the unexpected rain of trial, the snowflake of quiet endurance, these were not in your original score, yet they reveal a loveliness you could never have planned."
So good.
When circumstances appear to war against the good gifts God has entrusted to you, listen again. The very elements once twisted by the enemy are being made fairer than your heart imagined.
Just let that sink in.
Yeah. If you are listening to this right now and you are in a season of deep, unrelenting trial, a sudden medical diagnosis, a broken marriage, a financial crisis that came out of nowhere, that pain is real.
Very real.
The enemy wants to use the extreme heat and the bitter cold of that trial to destroy your faith. He wants you to become bitter, but God is in the business of making snowflakes out of our suffering.
That is a profound comfort. And notice that it doesn't minimize the pain of the cold.
No, bitter winter is still freezing.
Right. A trial still hurts, but it gives the cold a purpose. It anchors our hope in the unshakable truth that our trials are not outside his music.
They are part of the theme.
They are the very instruments by which he is forging a Christ-like character in us. A depth of empathy, a reliance on prayer, a steadfastness that we could never, ever achieve in times of unbroken comfort.
Man, Charles Spurgeon used to say that he learned more in the dark than he ever learned in the light.
That is exactly it.
But speaking of the dark, we have to transition into one of the most surprising, challenging, and frankly countercultural themes in Tolkien's universe.
This is where things get really deep.
Yeah. We've talked about how suffering is woven into God's plan, but now we need to look at the ultimate suffering in the human mind. The one thing that hangs over all of us. The great inevitability. Death.
The nature of mortality. This is perhaps Tolkien's most profound theological contribution in the entire mythos.
The way Tolkien frames mortality completely flips our modern perspective on its head.
Completely.
In Middle-earth, there are two primary races, elves and men. And their destinies, their relationship to time and to the earth, are entirely different.
Right. So the elves are immortal. They are permanently bound to the physical world, to Arda.
As long as the earth lasts, they last.
Exactly. They don't die of old age. They don't get sick. If they are killed in battle, their spirits go to a waiting hall, and eventually they are re-embodied.
Okay, so that sounds great, right?
You would think so. But, and this is the fascinating part, this immortality is actually described over time as their doom.
Doom. Why?
Because the world is broken and marred by Melkor's sin, the earth is decaying, and the elves, tied to this decaying earth, slowly accumulate centuries and millennia of sorrow.
They remember every loss.
Every single one. They grow unbearably weary. The weight of time becomes an agonizing burden to them. It's a phenomenon Tolkien calls the long defeat.
Wow. They're essentially trapped in a house that is slowly burning down and they aren't allowed to leave.
That's a terrifying way to put it, but
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Men, on the other hand, are given a completely different destiny.
Which is mortality.
Yes, and they are given what Iluvatar explicitly calls his gift.
His gift.
Men are not bound to the circles of the world. They live for a short span, they experience the world intensely, and then they die.
And then where do they go?
They depart to a destination that even the angelic beings do not fully know, but which resides directly with God himself beyond the confines of the physical universe.
This is so jarring. Because modern culture, and honestly, if we are telling the truth, even many of us in the church view our limited days purely as a tragedy.
We fight it constantly.
We spend billions of dollars on anti-aging creams, supplements, cryotherapy, and bizarre tech diets trying to squeeze a few more years out of this body.
Right, trying to live forever.
We cling to this life with a white-knuckled grip, as if this broken world is the only one we get.
Which is an entirely natural human reaction because death is an enemy.
The Bible is clear about that.
Yes. 1 Corinthians 15 tells us that death is the last enemy to be destroyed. It is a violent severing of body and soul. It is a consequence of the fall.
So how is it a gift?
Well, what Tolkien does through the lens of myth is reframe the believer's long-term relationship to it. In a fallen, broken world, heavily marred by sin and decay, being tethered to it forever without the hope of release would be a living hell.
Like the elves.
Right. Think about it. Do we really want to live for 10,000 years in a world governed by disease, war, and corruption?
Not at all.
So mortality for the child of God becomes a liberation. It is the door that opens beyond the circles of this broken world.
Man, it reminds me of the Apostle Paul.
In Philippians.
Yes. He writes in Philippians that he has this deep tension. He wants to stay and minister to the churches, but his true, deepest desire is to depart and be with Christ, which is far better.
Far better.
But I have to push back here on behalf of the listener, because I feel this tension myself.
Lay it on me.
It is really easy for us to sit behind these microphones in a comfortable studio and philosophize about how death is a gift while discussing a fantasy book.
Sure.
But let's get real. When a believer is sitting in a sterile hospital room, listening to the rhythmic beeping of a heart monitor, holding the cold hand of a dying spouse or a child.
The darkest moment.
Yeah. How does this perspective actually bring comfort in the face of that raw, suffocating, utterly unnatural grief?
That is the most important pushback you could offer, because theology that doesn't hold up in the hospital room is useless theology. The answer is that this perspective doesn't remove the grief of separation. It doesn't tell you not to cry. Jesus himself wept at the tomb of Lazarus, fully knowing he was about to raise him.
Grief is the cost of love.
It is. But what this theological perspective does, what the biblical truth behind Tolkien's myth does, is it changes the nature of the grief.
Okay, how so?
1 Thessalonians says, we do not grieve as those who have no hope. If our hope is anchored in holding on to this decaying earth forever, if we view this life as the ultimate reality, then death is the ultimate final defeat.
It's a cliff you fall off into nothingness.
The end of the song. But if we trust, as the men in Tolkien's myth are asked to trust, that the Creator has a purposeful destination for us beyond the visible world, then death is not a wall.
It is a door.
It is a door. Our beloved who dies in Christ is actually experiencing the ultimate fulfillment of the gift. They are freed from the tears, the sin, the cancer, and the weariness of the fading world.
And they are brought into the direct unveiled presence of the composer.
Exactly. It means our finitude makes each day precious, but it also frees us from the desperate panic of trying to turn this fallen world into our permanent heaven.
That is profound. It doesn't erase the tears, but it promises that the tears have an expiration date.
An expiration date, I love that.
But that raises the ultimate problem of the human condition.
Which is?
Well, if our true hope lies beyond this world, beyond that door, how on earth do we get there?
Right. We have a problem.
Because we are broken, sinful people. We are complicit in the discord. We can't conquer sin and death on our own.
No, we can't.
No amount of human willpower is going to get us into the presence of a holy God.
Absolutely not.
And this brings us to the deepest, most overtly Christ-centered mythic moments in the Silmarillion. We need a rescuer.
We desperately need one. And Tolkien establishes this desperate need through that concept I mentioned earlier, the long defeat.
Right.
Throughout the history of the First Age in Middle-earth, the elves and their human allies fight valiantly against Morgoth, which is the dark name Melkor takes.
Morgoth. Got it.
They build hidden, glorious cities like Gondolin. They forge mighty weapons. They achieve incredible feats of heroism. But it's all a holding action.
And losing.
Slowly, inevitably losing. Morgoth's armies are too vast. His malice is too deep. They simply cannot defeat the ultimate evil on their own strength.
Like, we have to remember the historical context here, too.
War, right.
Yeah, Tolkien conceived of a lot of this mythology while serving in the absolute horrors of the trenches during World War I. He saw the long defeat firsthand.
He lived it.
He saw human progress and enlightenment result in mustard gas, machine guns, and millions of young men slaughtered in the mud. He knew perfectly well that humanity cannot save itself.
That context is vital. The myth perfectly mirrors the human condition outlined in Romans 7. We can try all we want to be good people, to conquer our sin by our own willpower, to build utopian societies through politics or technology.
But the disease is too deep.
The enemy is too strong. We need an outside intervention. And that intervention comes through two incredible narrative arcs in the story that point vividly to the work of Jesus Christ.
Let's dive into the first one, the story of Luthien.
Oh, Luthien. She is an immortal elf maiden of divine lineage. She is described as the most beautiful of all the children of the world.
Okay.
And she falls in love with a mortal man, a human named Beren. They go through this harrowing quest together to steal a Silmaril from the crown of Morgoth himself.
Which sounds impossible.
It nearly is, and in the end, Beren is killed.
Oh, wow.
Luthien's grief is so profound that her spirit actually fades and goes to the halls of Mandos, the dwelling place of the dead.
Okay.
And there, out of a pure, sacrificial love, she sings a song of such immense sorrow that it moves the Lord of the Dead to pity.
But there's a catch.
A huge catch. The only way she can be with Beren is to make a choice. She willingly divests herself of her immortality.
Wait, she gives up her immortality.
Yes, she chooses to become a mortal woman to share in the doom and the death of Beren so that they can be together.
She gives up living in paradise forever to suffer and die with him. That is the ultimate picture of what theologians call kenosis.
Self-emptying.
Exactly. It's a Greek word meaning self-emptying. In Philippians 2, Paul says that Christ, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage.
But made himself nothing.
Yes, taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross.
The parallel is stunning.
Jesus willingly stepped down from the glories of heaven, down into our mortality, into our dirt, and into our death, out of pure sacrificial love, so that we could be united with him.
It is a profound, beautiful parallel. And the second figure who acts as a Christ type is Arundel the Mariner.
Tell us about Arundel.
So by the very end of the First Age, Morgoth has essentially won. The hidden cities have fallen, the elves and men are pushed to the very brink of the sea, huddled as refugees, facing absolute annihilation.
The long deceit is complete.
Nearly complete. Arundel, who is half elven and half human, so he represents both kindreds, takes his ship, Vingalot, with a Silmaril bound upon his brow. And he sails across the forbidden, terrifying, shadowy seas toward Valinor, the land of the angelic powers.
But no mortal is allowed to go there.
Exactly. It's absolutely forbidden. But he doesn't go to seek glory or immortality for himself. He goes to plead for mercy for the suffering peoples of Middle-earth.
He acts as an intercessor.
He throws himself on the mercy of the Valar. He acts as a high priest, interceding for the broken.
And what happens?
Because of his selfless intercession, the angelic powers are moved to pity. They descend upon Middle-earth in a cataclysmic battle called the War of Wrath, and they finally overthrow Morgoth, casting him out into the void.
Arundel crosses the infinite chasm that no one else could cross.
Yes.
He is the great intercessor. He stands in the gap. Just as Jesus Christ, who is fully God and fully man, is our great high priest.
He perfectly represents both sides.
Exactly. He crossed the infinite chasm between a perfectly holy God and a sinful humanity. He took his own blood into the Holy of Holies, pleading our case and securing our rescue when we were facing absolute spiritual annihilation.
This sudden, miraculous rescue, this moment when the sky breaks open and the host of heaven descends just when all hope is lost, is what Tolkien called a eucatastrophe.
Eucatastrophe. Break that word down for us.
It comes from the Greek prefix eu, meaning good, combined with catastrophe. We all know what a catastrophe is, right?
A sudden, disastrous turn.
Right. A eucatastrophe is the exact opposite. It is the sudden, joyous turn when all seems lost.
The sudden, joyous turn.
It is the unexpected grace that denies ultimate defeat. It's the eagle swooping in right when you're about to fall off the cliff.
Man.
In his letters, Tolkien explicitly stated that the ultimate eucatastrophe of human history is the incarnation and the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Just think about the disciples on Holy Saturday. Jesus is dead. The Messiah is crucified.
All hope is gone.
The long defeat has culminated in a bloody cross and a sealed tomb. They are huddled in a locked room, terrified, believing the song is completely over.
The music has stopped.
And then, Sunday morning, the stone is rolled away, the sudden joyous turn.
The ultimate eucatastrophe. Death is defeated from the inside out.
So what does this mean for you, the listener? Let's bring this right down to your daily walk with Christ.
Let's apply it.
When you look at the darkness in the world, The political corruption, the cultural decay, the wars, or even more intimately, when you look at the persistent, stubborn sin in your own heart that you can't seem to shake.
And you feel the crushing weight of the long defeat.
Yes, when you feel that weight, you must remember that the victory has already been secured.
You aren't fighting for victory.
You're fighting from victory. The great intercessor has already pleaded your case. The strong man has been bound. The cross and the empty tomb are the ultimate eucatastrophe.
That is the hope that sustains the Christian life. Even when the battle feels long, even when the daily obedience feels mundane or exhausting, the final outcome is not in doubt.
Man, we have covered an incredible amount of ground today.
We really have.
We've seen how a sweeping fantasy epic, this massive, intricate myth of Middle-earth, can act as a profound mirror for our conservative evangelical faith.
It really changes how you read it.
It does. We've talked about the master composer and our call to subcreate humbly in our daily work, rejecting the urge to steal the baton.
Letting him conduct.
We've warned against the Fëanor-like possessiveness that turns God's good gifts into idols, urging you to hold your career, your family, and your ministry with open hands.
Because they belong to the giver.
We've marveled at a sovereign providence that takes the bitter frost of our suffering and weaves it into beautiful snowflakes.
Romans 8.28 in action.
We've reframed the terrifying reality of death into the gift of freedom from a broken world. And we've looked to our ultimate rescuer, the true high priest who stepped into our mortality to secure the sudden, joyous turn of grace.
It is a rich, rich tapestry.
It is.
And I want to leave the listener with one final reflection drawn from the deepest lore of these sources.
Lay it on us.
In Tolkien's myth, there is a prophecy. It says that after the end of days, after the world is broken and remade, there will be a second music of the Ainur.
A second music.
But this time, it won't just be the angelic beings singing. The children of Ilúvatar, specifically men, the redeemed mortals, will join the angelic choir to sing a theme far greater and more glorious than the first.
A new heaven and a new earth. Revelation 21.
Yes. And so I challenge you with this thought. Your current struggles, your mundane, daily, faithful obedience, the times you resist the slow poison of pride at your job.
The quiet moments you choose to serve your family instead of serving yourself.
And even the bitter tears you shed in the frost of affliction, they are not meaningless. They are not lost in the void.
They are part of the song.
They are the tuning of the instruments for that coming eternal symphony. You are being prepared for the second music.
Wow.
So how will you play your part today, knowing that the best music is yet to come?
What a question to end on. You are tuning your instrument for eternity. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It was a privilege.
Live alert against the pride of your own heart. Live repentant when the discord creeps in. And above all, live hopeful in the great intercessor. We'll see you next time.